Have to thank my former partner, whose early sketches, while amateur, gave me the inspiration to create something truly visionary. The words echoed in the cavernous auditorium of the Innovate Futures Design Summit. On stage, Zoe was bathed in a brilliant white spotlight, clutching the hexagonal glass award for Digital Interface of the Year. Her smile was a practiced blend of humility and pity, aimed directly at me in the third row. Light caught the tiny silver flecks in her black dress, making her shimmer like a dark star. Someone next to me, a designer from a rival firm, nudged my arm and whispered, "What do you think?" I kept my eyes on Zoe, my expression neutral. She earned every word of that. We met at a 2 a.m. portfolio review our senior year of college, two caffeine-wired insomniacs bonding over a shared obsession with Swiss modernism. Everyone else's work was loud, chaotic. Ours was clean, structured, quiet. We decided right then to form a partnership after graduation. I remember one of our first projects for a small coffee roaster. We stayed up all night in our tiny shared studio, fueled by stale donuts and a Spotify playlist of minimalist techno. Around 3 a.m., I scrawled a logo concept on a napkin, a simple geometric bird taking flight from a coffee bean. Zoe looked at it, then at me, and a genuine, unforced smile lit up her face. "That's the one," she said. "That's us." That was the first red flag, too, though I didn't see it. The next day, presenting to the client, she said, "I was playing around with some ideas last night, and this just came to me. It felt too small to fight over. The first 2 years were our golden period. We were the darlings of the local tech scene. Our work on the Solstice meditation app got us a feature in Design Weekly. Our branding for a robotics startup called Kinetic was everywhere. We worked out of a trendy co-working space called The Loom, our corner filled with Pantone swatchbooks and towering iMacs. But a gradual imbalance took hold. Zoe, ever the pragmatist, insisted on handling all the client-facing work and the finances. "You're the artist," she'd say. "You just focus on the pixels. Don't worry your beautiful brain with invoices and contracts." I was grateful. I hated that part of the business. The cracks started as hairline fractures. Notice Zoe with a new Pronza schooler bag, or hear about her weekend trip to a spa in Napa while I was carefully budgeting to make rent on our shared apartment. When I'd ask how the business was doing, she'd give a weary sigh. "It's tough," she'd say. "Clients are paying late. We're still building our reputation. We have to be patient." I rationalized it. She was working so hard on the business side, she deserved a few luxuries. The clue that changed everything arrived on a Tuesday morning. An email, sent to me by mistake. It was from a client at a fintech company, Pathwise, forwarding an invoice payment confirmation. My stomach went cold. The payment was for $28,000. Zoe had told me the entire project fee was $15,000, and that we had to give the client a new business discount. I sat there for a full 10 minutes, the cursor blinking on the screen, the entire foundation of our 5-year friendship turning to dust. That night I began my investigation. For 3 weeks I became a quiet strategist. I used my login to our shared Dropbox account, which she'd never thought to revoke, and started downloading originals. Contracts, project proposals, email correspondence. I compared the real numbers with the doctored spreadsheets she'd been showing me. It wasn't just Pathwise. It was a dozen clients over 18 months. She had set up a separate LLC under a variation of her own name and was diverting a portion of every single payment into it. The scale of the betrayal was breathtaking. It wasn't just skimming. It was a parallel operation, built on my work, funding a life she told me we couldn't afford. Breaking point was the Elysian Project, a revolutionary interface for a nonprofit that connected organ donors with recipients. It was my passion project. I poured hundreds of hours into the wireframes, the user flow, the custom iconography. We submitted it to the Innovate Futures Awards together, or so I thought. The night of the ceremony, I found out she had withdrawn our joint submission and resubmitted it under her name alone. I confronted her in the lobby, just before the doors opened. Our peers, professors, clients, the whole of our small professional world, milled around us, sipping champagne. She didn't even have the grace to look ashamed. "Look, your style is holding us back. It's sweet, but it isn't profitable," she said, her voice a low, dismissive hiss. "I took your raw ideas and made them commercially viable. You should be thanking me for carrying you this long. This award is mine." I felt a profound, arctic calm settle over me. Emotional hurt was cauterized by the sheer, cold force of her cruelty. As she turned away, I noticed a tiny detail. Her award nominee lanyard was clipped to her portfolio case. On the side of the case was a sticker from our old accountant, the one we used for filing our partnership taxes. She had been sloppy. In her arrogance, she had used our original partnership's employer identification number on several of the fraudulent, sole proprietor contracts to seem more established. That was her undoing. The next morning, I called Veronica Shaw, a notoriously sharp intellectual property attorney whose firm, Walker & Associates, was the legal equivalent of a surgical strike. My parents loaned me the $15,000 for her retainer. For the next 7 weeks, Veronica and I worked. I organized my findings into a meticulously cross-referenced digital file. 14 doctored invoices laid side by side with the real ones. 32 emails where Zoe instructed clients to pay her personal LLC, citing partnership banking issues. The timestamped metadata on the award submission showing my name being digitally erased just 2 hours before the deadline. The client from Pathwise, furious at being used in a fraud, agreed to provide a sworn affidavit. Ironic coincidence that sealed it was a text from Zoe herself, sent months earlier. She was complaining about her tax bill. The quarterly payment on the Elysian advance is killing me, she had written. It was direct proof she'd received money I never knew existed. One afternoon, I got a text from Zoe herself. Hey, weird question, but are you still logged into our old Dropbox, getting some weird activity alerts? My heart hammered against my ribs. I'd been careless. I immediately logged out, messaged Veronica, and we switched to using the backups I had already downloaded to a secure hard drive. It was a close call that reminded me who I was dealing with. Veronica's plan was beautiful in its simplicity. She drafted a standard partnership dissolution agreement. It was mostly boilerplate, a simple division of our few shared assets. Buried in Section 4 was a single clause. Both parties hereby attest, under penalty of perjury, that all income and revenue generated under the partnership's EIN have been fully disclosed to the other party. It was a decoy, a legal trap laid with plain language, and Zoe was about to walk right into it. We met in a sterile, glass-walled conference room at Walker & Associates. Zoe was breezy, tapping her pen impatiently, clearly wanting to get it over with. Veronica began, her voice. Before we sign, we have a few accounting items to clarify. Zoe's bravado was a shield. Just send me the bill, she said with a tight smile. Let's move on. That was when Veronica slid the first folder across the polished mahogany table. It contained the invoice discrepancies. Zoe's smile faltered. Her face hardened. These are drafts, she stammered. Accounting errors. Then Veronica slid over the second folder. This one held the bank statements from Z Diaz Designs LLC, totaling $145,700 in undeclared partnership revenue. It also held the sworn affidavit from our client. Zoe's face went from confusion to a waxy, pale panic. The color drained from her skin, leaving a mask of pure terror. Veronica leaned forward slightly. You have two options. You can sign this confession and a settlement agreement ceding all intellectual property for the Elysian project and others to my client, along with full repayment plus damages. We can file our civil suit for fraud and embezzlement tomorrow morning, at which point we will also be legally obligated to report your shell corporation and tax evasion to the IRS. Zoe stared speechless, her breath coming in ragged little gasps. Her eyes finally met mine, filled with a desperate, wounded disbelief. Why would you do this? She whispered. We were friends. I met her gaze without flinching. You said my work wasn't profitable. I'm just collecting the profits. Zoe signed everything. Fallout wasn't a loud explosion, but a quiet, suffocating implosion. The Innovate Futures Award Committee, presented with the evidence, quietly amended the award online to credit my new solo firm. Whispers followed Zoe through the industry. No one ever confronted her directly. They just stopped calling. Projects dried up. She had to sell her airy, minimalist condo to pay the settlement. 6 months later, I saw her through the window of a Starbucks. She was working in-house for a massive insurance conglomerate, the kind of soul-crushing corporate job she used to mock. She was holding a clunky, standard-issue Lenovo laptop, a universe away from the sleek silver MacBook she once considered an extension of her body. She looked smaller, diminished, the vibrant confidence completely gone. I used the settlement to open my own studio in a sunlit loft downtown. Last month, the Elysian nonprofit hired me, just me, to design phase 2 of the project. There is a deep, quiet peace in my work now, a sense of earned calm. The hexagonal glass award sits on a bookshelf in my office. Sometimes, I look at it and remember Zoe on that stage, shimmering under the spotlight, talking about inspiration and vision. Turns out, my amateur sketches were visionary enough on their own.